Did you know that most companies only understand about 30% of how their business processes actually run in reality? The rest is hidden in data, until now. Welcome everyone to today's live expert session, the third of 7 episodes. We're thrilled to have you join us as we dive into how to boost data-driven business transformation with SAP Signavio process analysis and mining solutions. I'm very pleased to have here with me Silvio Arcangeli, Head of Product Management at SAP. Silvio is a seasoned technologist with more than 20 years of experience in enterprise IT. He joined SAP 12 years ago, held different roles in SAP Business Technology Platform and in SAP Signavio, and now he leads the product management organization for SAP Signavio process analysis and mining solutions. And with this, over to you, Silvio.
Thanks a lot, Tania. Thanks a lot, guys, and folks in general for joining this session. And first of all, usual disclaimer. So as you will see today, I will often mention roadmap features, vision statements, outlook on future direction. Keep in mind that, of course, that can always change, right? So as per the usual disclaimer with SAP roadmaps. And also, I would like, of course, to invite you to subscribe to the SAP User Group series. So thanks, Tania and folks for having me, right? So on this series, I'm always very happy to join and to contribute with some nice discussions in this webcast. Now, what are we going to discuss today? I will give you a refresher, right? So a refreshed view around the strategy concerning SAP Signavio's products for process analysis and mining in particular. So at Signavio, we are focused in enabling enterprises and organizations from small to large to extra large and very large in transforming their businesses as effectively and efficiently as possible. And in order to do that, we are part, of course, of a newly established portfolio within SAP since a little bit more than a year, which is called Business Transformation Management, that focuses exactly on that, to join the dots across the main different pillars in each and every organization that influence whether or not the business can be successful in transforming, adapting, and becoming more successful. And those dimensions and pillars are data, processes, applications, and of course, people, right? So many times in IT, we tend to forget of the importance of people and the human factor in driving projects and impactful transformation. Signavio, in particular, connects processes with data and people, right? So jointly with LeanIX, then we have also the application perspective in the mix. Jointly with WalkMe, we can then enable change and adaptation also on the people factor. So that's how the pillars come together. So what we focus on is helping large organizations to gather data-driven visibility on the processes and foster change on those processes with the Signavio part of the BTM portfolio. Now, when we talk about transforming your business, sometimes it can look like a challenging or even a scary endeavor, right? So why? Because we always talk about the fact that we want to be data-driven. We want to have facts and numbers and quantifiable measures and business cases and ROI and so on in order to define the proper change that we want to apply to our business. But the reality is that we love the data, but the data doesn't necessarily love us, unfortunately. It's very often a one-sided relationship, right? And sometimes very sad, right? And we need to work to make sure that we can at least gather a beautiful friendship out of it, right? So let's try to become friends with data. let's try to make sure that, for example, if I need one more KPI in order to understand how my process is going, I don't need a 1 month exercise with my IT to get it, which is typically the case in many large enterprise organizations. Then another aspect which is often discouraging and it's a big hurdle for change is the fact that even when you get the data, even when you get visibility about what you should change, many times it's tough to then define how to change and to justify the effort needed for the change because the value that you're going to get back is uncertain, right? So you might be well aware of the fact that you have an issue with the amount of manual reworks that you have in a process, but are you sure that if you're going to fix that issue, you're going to get back enough money for it rather than finding out that you have another bottleneck just down the line that prevents you from actually getting that benefit that you were hoping to get, right? And then the third big hurdle for change is risk, right? So especially in these days with agentic AI, so I'm seeing all the customers that I talk to, all the SAP customers that I talk to, of course, they're very much looking into the agentic topic because it's so promising and it has so much potential. Most enterprises have already delivered and deployed many POCs and many initial use cases. Typically, they always start from those areas which are not risky, right? So the areas where you can experiment more freely because you're not touching transactional behaviors, you're not touching liabilities and so on, which means also that the value is more limited. But people at present, they do not really trust doing more significant things with risky technologies because compliance is king, right? And risk and compliance is always king because first thing is that we need to ensure that we all retain our jobs and that we safeguard the safety of our businesses. Now, how can technology help with these pains? Process analysis and mining can help in many different ways. So first of all, a process mining technology like SAP Signavio Process Intelligence and SAP Signavio Process Insights, the two flagship products that we have in this area. So process analysis and mining technologies can help you, first of all, with content and with pre-built accelerators and also with dedicated features and capabilities to gather all of the relevant data for process analysis in particular in the right place, in the right format, ready to be analyzed, right? So reducing the effort that it takes to have the right information so that you can do analysis on top of it, both via content and via dedicated features that are specifically designed for process data models, which are a little bit different compared to traditional BI. And of course, we also provide the signature, let's say, capabilities of process mining technology, which is the ability to automatically infer and discover all the different ways in which a process is executed and display it in a way that is analyst friendly. This is, I would say, since the inception of process mining, it's really the main distinctive additional value of deploying process mining side by side to your analytical landscape, right? So why also engaging in a process mining project besides your BI? Because you get this, which otherwise you would not get. Then at Signavio, we also provide you with automated insights based on other machine learning algorithms that automatically find out and visualize all the interesting correlations, all the interesting anomalies that you should look at first, right? So to shorten basically the time to analysis. And since a few quarters, we are also providing more and more generative AI-based features to democratize the analysis experience further. So, for example, creating process mining widgets out of natural language prompts so that the experience of creating a process analysis dashboard can also be extended to users which are not so well versed with using business intelligence tools. Now, besides these core aspects of process analysis and mining, there's also a distinctive approach that SAP Signavio took, which I think differentiates us from most of the process analysis and mining market, because Signavio focuses on enabling organizations to deliver business transformation. So we are not there just for the visibility, just for the analytics. We want to allow you to holistically implement large transformations, including all it takes. And we want to allow you to do it across your entire process house, right? So as usually transformations do not just involve improving procurement, right? So or single single process excellence initiatives taken in isolation. So we want to allow our customers to tune the amount of investment that they do in the different processes of their landscapes according to every specific need. So take this example where, for simplicity, in this diagram, I've only depicted a few end-to-end processes. Normally, every real organization will have tens and tens of different processes like this ones, right? First of all, you can deploy enterprise architecture management, and you can deploy process modeling and journey modeling quite easily and quite cheaply across your entire process house. So modeling your processes is something that you can do relatively easily. It's a very well-established practice, right, in the industry. And it's one very efficient way to already get visibility around what your organization is doing by leveraging the people dimension, right? So getting what the people have in mind when we talk process. And you can easily roll that out across many different processes. Then perhaps for some processes where it's worth it, you want to go data driven. So as I said earlier, right? So we want to become friends with the enterprise data. And at Signavio, we have a distinctive capability in SAP Signavio Process Insights that applies in particular to those processes which are executed in SAP applications and relatively close to the SAP standard, of course. So if you do have processes where a good percentage, let's say, of the end-to-end process executes in a standard SAP flow, we can very quickly get you a complete picture of how the process is doing, its main blockers, its main metrics, and how they compare to the industry benchmarks, recommendations on how to fix it and what to fix in your system in order to get some very quick return on investment, right? And that is plug and play. So something that you can deploy in a matter of minutes. And that will allow you to cover already 7 end-to-end processes with 3,000 plus metrics pre-built according to industry best practices out of the box, right? So that's what we call pre-built mining, which is again quite horizontal, because you click one button, you connect your ERP, you connect your S4, and you have immediately the coverage across several different end-to-end processes in one go without having to set up process mining at all, right? So without having to model any event log or to do any typical activity that you need in classic process mining approaches. Then perhaps in this example, in procure to pay, you might need to go a little bit further, because you might have some custom or some adjacencies around SAP, of course, some other applications like, I don't know, Coupa, like OpenText, of course, like other smaller vendors that you might want to integrate into your landscape. And that's where you can do a little bit more investment to add a tailored process mining approach on top of pre-built. Then perhaps if you want to save money by improving the automation rate around your procurement, you might also need to deploy some task mining to check how your users are actually executing the process activities. And you might want to deploy some risk mining to facilitate the compliance aspect around your change, right? So this is, as I said, just an example, right? So where you might want to spend a little bit more in procurement compared to other processes. Then perhaps in hire to retire, you might again want to invest in doing some tailored process mining to bring in your workday part, right? And some digital adoption analytics to help your users adopting the best practice way of running your processes using WalkMe. Then in order to cache, perhaps instead your business goal might be that you want to improve your customer satisfaction, and that is something that would then guide you to doing again some tailored mining on top of the pre-built one, plus some experience mining to link the user experience, sorry, the customer experience to your backend processes and understand how to guide your process improvement efforts so that you actually impact not just generically some KPIs, but the ones that matter, right? Whereas for other processes, even just modeling alone and enterprise architecture management alone might already suffice, right? So you might not need to deploy additional capabilities everywhere, right? So this kind of modular approach, where we allow you to fine tune, right? So the capabilities from the suite that are worth and useful and required even in some cases for driving change across your process house is what we call modular process observability, and it's a distinctive factor of Signavio. So we have a very wide set of capabilities and an integrated suite that allows you to mix and match and combine them and spend your money where it's worth it. Now, digging a bit deeper into process analysis and mining, we are implementing AI, of course, everywhere across the Signavio suite. And we have structured our process analysis and mining solution across different degrees of granularity. So as I said earlier, we start with pre-built mining first, when applicable. So especially in all of the more SAP centric scenarios, it's easy for us to get a lot of visibility out of the box in just a few clicks and with a cheap investment overall. Then we move on to tailored process mining to complete the picture so that we can also include adjacencies, non-SAP applications, custom parts of your process, and so on. Finally, when useful and when required, we can leverage our task mining and user behavior ecosystem to also go deeper in terms of granularity in checking how the users execute specific activities and tasks, using WalkMe for user behavior analytics, using Noah for user experience analytics, or using our partners like KYP, Mimica, UiPath for different flavors of task mining depending on your geography, on your needs, and on your target landscape. Across all of these, we are now building agentic user flows to facilitate the adoption of process analysis and mining technologies, which will all then get subsumed into Joule for end-to-end unified user experience across SAP. Now, talking about the synergies, right? So with the rest of the SAP portfolio, but also the integrations with non-SAP applications, systems, and technologies. At Signavio, we are totally committed to this kind of dual approach, where on one side, for SAP-friendly customers, we want to provide an undisputed best-in-class experience in terms of synergies when it comes to leveraging Signavio, for example, jointly with SAP Integration Suite, or with SAP Business Data Cloud, or with SAP Build, and so on. At the same time, we are also totally committed to keeping Signavio open and best of breed, because we are market leaders, according to most of the analysts, and we want to remain and even improve our market leadership. So we will never become SAP only or strictly SAP focused. So that's what I mean with dual strategy, right? So that's that's a promise that we can make and that will not change. So, for example, when it comes to integrating to data management stacks and business intelligence stacks, of course, we do have, let's say, a preferential swim lane when it comes to delivering even more native integration to SAP Business Data Cloud and SAP Analytics Cloud. that I will and I will share more about that later. But at the same time, we do support integrating into Snowflake, into Azure, into AWS, of course, and so on when it comes to data factories and data fabrics. And we do support also other major business intelligence tools, like, for example, Power BI. So integrating our mining insights into external Power BI dashboards, for example, for wider consumption. Same approach, similar approach, equivalent, I would say, approach when it comes to integrating to the automation space, right? So Signavio, of course, provides collaboration and transformation management as part of the Signavio suite. So that's part of the core DNA of what we do. We are not limited to just giving you analytics and visibility, as I said earlier. We also provide process re-engineering, so in process modeling and collaboration and transformation management capabilities to help you plan and execute the change. When it comes to automation, we have a preferential lane in terms of dedicated features for integrating to SAP Build, like, for example, a native drop-down box that lets you select which workflow in SAP Build you want to trigger out of an action in process mining. But at the same time, the very same thing can also get used to trigger the execution of a standard webhook or call out to an OData API. And we have tested integration to Workato, to UiPath. We can integrate with Automation Anywhere and so on. So and we want to make sure that we can fit into any existing brownfield landscape also when there are no SAP technologies around Signavio. Similarly, when it comes to data sources, strong support, best-in-class support when it comes to extracting SAP data, and very solid enterprise-grade support also for integrating to non-SAP applications like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Coupa, Microsoft Dynamics, Oracle, and so on. Let me dig a little bit deeper into the integration aspect, because here we provide three main different options for ingesting data into Signavio. So first one is what we call the standard connectors. So the standard connectors, they are built into Signavio itself. They are the easiest option, of course, because they're already there. And that's what we use as the recommended approach for integrating data from all of the major databases, data lakes, data warehouses, which is usually the easiest approach. So if you have your data already collected in an enterprise data lake, we take it from there. So no need to redo any extraction just for us or to redo any kind of ETLing effort. On the other hand, we also support a bring your own data integration approach. So if you already have your own middleware that is taking care of connecting your transactional sources, we can get easily added as an additional target for your middleware. So we've got customers, for example, who are using web methods to extract data out of Oracle JD Edwards and pump it into Signavio using our standard ingestion API. That's perfectly doable. Other customers are using IBM Data Stage, right? So I've seen it multiple times, and it's easy and it's doable. Then the intermediate option is when you want to integrate external applications and you want an SAP provided technology for that, we can provide you with dedicated Signavio content on top of SAP Integration Suite for Salesforce, for example, for Coupa, for Workday, and coming soon also for Oracle applications. That is a very powerful approach because SAP Integration Suite is a market-leading middleware, very well established, used by thousands and thousands of SAP customers already. And so instead of pushing, let's say, point-to-point connectivity that you should add into your landscape just for Signavio straight to your transactional applications, we decided to create content for Integration Suite so that you can have a ready-made scenario, for example, for integrating Salesforce lead to cache data into Signavio. You download the template, you install it on Integration Suite, it's done, it works, and it uses a a very mature and leading technology. So it's fully reliable, fully enterprise ready, fully scalable. That's the span of options that we provide at present to all of our customers. Similarly, when it comes to extracting SAP data, you can leverage our standard connectors, of course, which are there and will be there, so to connect directly to SAP RFCs, for example. But you can also leverage SAP Business Data Cloud. So if you are an SAP customer who's already investing in SAP Business Data Cloud, that will provide you with an additional synergy. And let me also show you again, going into a little bit more detail around that synergy. So when we talk about Business Data Cloud, we talk about a very wide solution with various layers and a lots of different capabilities. And we are planning to provide synergies between Signavio and SAP Business Data Cloud at each and every layer of those capabilities. So when it comes to connectivity, a few weeks ago, we went live with the first general available version of the native integration between SAP DataSphere Replication Flow and Signavio. So Replication Flow is the feature within Business Data Cloud that extracts data from SAP applications and lends them into the cloud. So it's the golden standard when it comes to extracting data out of ECC or S4 and lending it into the cloud. And now SAP Signavio is one of the supported targets by Replication Flow. So you can basically extract your data from SAP on-premise or private cloud straight into or public cloud as well, straight into Signavio without having to stage it anywhere. So you can of course also stage it in BDC or HANA Cloud if you want for other purposes, but it's not mandatory, or at least it's not mandatory anymore. Then we are working on an additional synergy around the data products. So this new concept of the data products is one of the most, I would say, compelling concepts that Business Data Cloud is delivering, with the promise to deliver data products which are ready-made for analytical consumption without the need to do any ETLing out of all of the major SAP LOBs and SAP applications. And Signavio will be a native consumer of those data products, and we are also planning to produce our own data products that we will expose in BDC. So for those SAP customers who are now investing into BDC, I think this will be a very interesting synergy to look at, because it means that as soon as we will work, let's say, to get proper data products from S4 and Ariba and SuccessFactors to cover the mining use cases, which is in the makings, it means that we will get the data natively straight in BDC without having to do any specific integration and ETLing anymore. And we will also then be exposing mining-driven data products back in BDC for further consumption. There's an integration which is already available at the engine level. So once you have your data in Signavio and you start to do your mining, you can also leverage the mining engine in DataSphere or in Databricks for doing machine learning, for example, for doing predictive analysis or any other kind of advanced analytical use case that might leverage the process mining engine as one of the bricks at your disposal. Similarly, we can integrate data both from Process Intelligence and Process Insights into SAP Analytics Cloud, as I said earlier. And the last interesting synergy is at the intelligent app level. So SAP Business Data Cloud introduced this concept of intelligent applications built on top of BDC, which is ready-made analytical content for specific business use cases. We are looking at packaging some of the Signavio content also in that shape, because if you look at what today is delivered in Process Insights, it's not technically packaged as an intelligent app, but it's actually the most widely adopted and the most successful intelligent app that SAP has ever built in terms of customer adoption and clear success, because that's really the perfect example of what an intelligent app should be in terms of providing pre-built analytical content. Now, giving you also some highlights in terms of what we recently released in the product. One capability that I'm very proud of is automated root cause analysis. This is a very distinctive new capability. It's an additional engine that we built into SAP Signavio Process Intelligence that performs root cause analysis based on business goals. So you start by giving a goal that you have around a specific business KPI. Like, for example, I've got my manual rework rate currently at 30%. I want to improve it and bring it down to 10%. What should I do? So what are the factors that are actually related to that 20% difference, and where should I act, right? So the engine will start crunching the numbers, and it's a proper engine built into the core. So it's not a Python plugin in this case. It's a proper asynchronous engine built into the core of the product with the very same technology of the Signal engine. And after a few minutes, it will give you back all the results of the factors that influence the KPI that you were looking at and what you should do to get to your target, including also the behaviors that influence your KPI. So we are not just slicing and dicing the data dimensions. We are also slicing and dicing the process execution graphs. So the sequence of activities that influence a certain behavior. Then another capability that I'm very proud of is called AI Assisted Context Analyzer. We released the beta of this capability in August, and it's already up and running for you to test it if you're interested. So what is it about? It's about linking and correlating unstructured context data to your process event log, so to your process data, which can be useful, for example, for analyzing customer feedbacks, right? So, but also all other sorts of unstructured text would work in a similar way. So also employee communications, you could use it for several different purposes. So giving you a very quick and simplified demo. So first thing, we load the unstructured text into the process data model by adding the text fields linked to a certain case ID. So in this case, we collected feedbacks from customers around their sales orders. So the sales order item is what we are leading as what we're using as a case ID. So once we have those text fields into the process data model, the tool will do automatically what we call the text to event matching. So we will be able to infer automatically that a certain feedback of a given sales order was related to complaining about a specific activity in that process. And with that, we will do sentiment analysis and display it on the process discovery diagram, as you see here. So there are some activities which are displayed in green, some others that are displayed in red, because the sentiment on those specific steps of the process was quite negative. And then you can also drill down, of course, and go and check a sample of the negative sentiments that were shared around specific activities of your process. As I said, this is already available for you folks to check out if you're interested. Now, one very significant big announcement. So far I've talked about things that were released already and things that perhaps many of you already knew. Now, this is instead new, and I will share something more about this next week at our Signavio Transformation Excellence Summit at The Hague. We are going to unify SAP Signavio Process Insights and Process Intelligence. So this is a question that I often got in the past 2-3 years around the, let's say, the difference and the distinction between these two products. One is our best-in-class pre-built analysis for SAP product. The other one is the market-leading product for process mining. And we have already unified the pricing for them. Beginning of this year, in April, we released a different pricing that allows our customers to easily mix and match consumption from both products. So at the same price. So it's not that we changed the price, right? So it wasn't meant to as a price change. It was just meant to deliver additional flexibility. Instead of having to buy two different products, already today you can buy one SKU with a certain quantity of data, and then you can assign and change also that quantity of volume of process data across process insights and process intelligence flexibly. So that is already available. What we will do in the coming months, and the current foreseen release date for the very first version of the unified product is June next year. So we will bring it on stage at Sapphire. That's the current plan. Is that we will also unify the products themselves. So the unification will imply different things. So first of all, as you see in the screenshot on the right, one interface. So one single product. On the left side, you will have the entire navigation pane with all of the capabilities, consistent across all the in terms of user interface across both tools. The combined feature set. So you will be able to use features from both insights and intelligence. And of course, if you only use the process insights data and the process insights features, right? So you will spend less. Right? So if you start using also process intelligence features and process intelligence data, the consumption will increase, and vice versa, right? So that's but as I said, that is totally flexible. So it's up to you to decide how much you want to use, right? So and in terms of UX and deployment, it will be seamless. Third point, which is very important and very impactful in my view, is that some of the features that previously were available only in process intelligence, like for example, the spaghetti diagram, so the Variant Explorer, we are adding them also on the process insights stack, so on the cheap thing to cheap and quick thing to consume. Which means that if you apply the pre-built mining approach that I was explaining earlier, you are also getting some additional visualizations with some additional analytical possibilities, like also analyzing the variance with the directed flow graph around your process insights, process flow data seamlessly in the same UI. This visualization with the Variant Explorer brought to the process insights stack is going to be released even earlier, because we are planning to release it before the end of the year. So it will be a teaser, let's say, of what is going to come with a unified product later in first half of 2026. And I'm really proud of this, of course, because it's a major milestone. So in terms of bringing even additional synergy and making sure that our mining technology remains best of breed and fully applicable to non-SAP scenarios, while at the same time bringing a lot of advantages to SAP-centric scenarios and use cases. Now, a little bit of roadmap before opening up for questions. Some highlights besides the unification highlight, which I already shared. First of all, and again, this is a small teaser of something which will be explained in much more detail and breadth next week at the summit in The Hague. We are going to deliver a new approach to process conformance based on process atoms. What are process atoms? Are process behaviors like the ones that you can see depicted in this screenshot, like activity A should occur before activity B, right? Or this kind of step should be performed if the data contains a certain type, and so on and so forth, right? So they are small facts, small behaviors about a process that we can use as nuggets of knowledge, so as building blocks for process knowledge. You can see here that we do have a relatively short-term roadmap item. So we're talking about Q1 next year for the first version, about using those nuggets of knowledge for conformance, which is one clear use case of these process atoms. But stay tuned for what we are going to announce next week, because the picture will be way bigger than just conformance. So our aim is really to leverage process atoms to build a coherent enterprise-wide layer of process knowledge that we can gather from several different sources, like, for example, process models. So of course we can break down BPMN models into sets of process atoms, sets of small behaviors, but we can also gather process atoms from existing process mining event logs, for example. We can gather atoms from text documents, standard operating procedures, meeting transcripts, and so on. We can gather atoms from transactional business rules engines, right? So where you have defined a lot of rules, for example. So those are all different options to gather process anodes, build one coherent library of knowledge, and use it for conformance, as in this feature, which would be one of the first highlights that we will release, or for other purposes like analysis, for example, so filtering, dimensional analysis, metrics, and so on, root cause analysis. To a certain extent, our root cause analysis is already running on process anodes because it performs root cause analysis on also activity sequences, so on process behaviors, let's say. So it will be linked then to the anodes library once we will release it, and then further next year also simulation. So this is a very exciting new topic, and as I said, stay tuned because it will be explored way further next week during the summit at The Hague. Then another exciting thing that we are working on is what we call object-based data modeling. So we know that classic process mining poses a series of limitations when it comes to, for example, solving problems like convergence and divergence, which are the typical shortcomings of event log-based process mining, or when it comes to properly and easily tracking cross-process interdependencies. So we are working to deliver new capabilities that will overcome those shortcomings. The first one that we are targeting for first half of next year is object-based data modeling. So the possibility to model your entire landscape of business objects with the relationships between them, and then more easily and more flexibly define the cases for your process mining event logs out of the business objects that you have modeled. And that is step number one, of course, but we will have then additional steps to also have more flexible analysis and even get to caseless analysis in the future. So stay tuned also for that. Now, summing up, right, so the key takeaways that I would like you to retain: first of all, leverage mining and analysis to gather full visibility, because we need the data, right? And we need to come to terms with the enterprise data and have effective ways to gather data and to derive analytics from it. We need to be able to ensure the value out of the data, right? So today I focused specifically on the process analysis and mining part of the Signavio suite, but I invite you to have a closer look also at the transformation manager capability of Signavio, where we focus in managing and creating transformation initiatives, managing and creating business cases and value cases, so that you can focus your change where it matters and track that you get back what you expect to get back. And finally, streamline compliance. So make sure that you can do compliance checking more efficiently, more quickly, and with less effort, so that you can facilitate change and remove some of the blockers that otherwise are very likely to become strong hurdles to any kind of enterprise change. Now, with that, I would like to then open up for questions. Tania.
Perfectly. Thank you so much, Silvio, for your excellent presentation. It seems that your presentation was so clear and complete that our audience have no open questions left.
Nice.
But let us give them time.
Perhaps to digest.
Exactly. I have actually a couple of questions. The user groups, they are installed base.
Mm-hmm.
And so you mentioned that process insights and process intelligence will be united.
Yep.
How will that affect the installed base, actually all existing customers? How will the be informed transparently about this unification?
That's a great point, Tanya, and thanks for letting me clarify that, because we are planning the unification of these two products in the most transparent way possible. So we want to make sure that customers will just get the new flavor of the combined unified products without doing anything, right? So that would be my hope and my nirvana. So the way we are doing it is that, as I said earlier, we changed the pricing beginning of this year, creating an SKU that combines both products. So for those customers who have their contract on the recent SKU, the one that we released beginning of this year, basically they don't have to do anything because they will get the unified product as an update, right? So very, very transparently. Whereas the customers who have previous contracts, which are still on the previous SKUs, they just need to make sure that they switch to the new SKU. It's something that you can do transparently, because, as I said, there is no breaking change in terms of pricing, right? So we didn't increase the price to be more clear, right? So it's something that you can do I mean, reach out to your account executive, of course, right? So we're not entering into the mechanics of how to change the contract, because that sometimes that can be also account specific. But I would invite existing customers to look into that, because the sooner that they update their contract to the latest SKU, the better it is for them, because they will make sure that they don't lose any technical update on the products.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And then I'm really curious about the process atom you just mentioned. So what is new? Well, it is a very new and fancy name, actually. I mean, process atom, it's amazing. Sounds amazing. But what actually is the difference to normal business rules?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because we also had internal discussions around the naming, right? Because if you think of a business rule, like for example, a purchase order where the amount is bigger than 100 euros needs to go through an approval, right? So that's a typical example of a business rule. That kind of business rule can get translated one-to-one to an atom, right? So business rules, as I said also earlier, can be a source for process atoms, because they can be expressed as process atoms. It's just that process atoms are not just business rules, right? So the reason why we use this new fancy name, that we will need to take time to explain it properly to the market, of course, is that for us, process atoms are minimal behaviors, so process behaviors, things that happen in a process with a certain context around them. They are observable, they are semantically rich, they are measurable. So those are the characteristics of a process atom. So besides the rules, so besides those behaviors which are mandating something that you have to do, right? So that's the characteristic of a rule, right? So that typically then you use for conformance. There are also several other behaviors that do not necessarily have that kind of compulsory meaning, right? So we can also just capture that sometimes people do a certain task in a certain way, neither good nor bad. It's just one of the possible ways of doing it, right? And that can also be captured as an atom. So instead of asking people to model the process with normal BPMN diagrams, we can also start capturing those atoms and creating sets of those atoms, and then using them as a way basically to have process knowledge that we can use for several different purposes. So for example, think about simulating the behavior of a process, right? So normally simulation was typically done using a model as an input. So we were first modeling the way that a process should be executed, and then simulating the possible different ways of executing that model. So that's a very descriptive and imperative way of running a simulation. Whereas if instead of a model we have a set of process behaviors that we list, and we tell the simulation engine, I want to, for example, optimize my KPI for the cycle time or for the automation rate in a procurement process, making sure that that you must comply to this set of behaviors, and that you can use, if you want, this other set of behaviors. Then you let the engine decide, right? So what's the optimal execution of the process that let's say complies with your goals in the end. So it's a much more goal-oriented approach rather than a descriptive approach. So declarative rather than imperative, I would say, in ITSM. So atoms can also capture just facts, not necessarily constraints. That's the summary of the answer.
Okay, great. Thank you. We actually have another question in the chat. Can process atoms also be part of the concept of a digital twin, which process mining is already associated with? How do process atoms enhance or make more real the idea of a twin with AI?
That's a great question, actually, and the answer is definitely yes, right? So, and you are guessing already where we are heading to in terms of future direction. So, I would say, if you look at the process management space and how it evolved in the past couple of decades, we started being model driven back in the noughties. When BPMN was invented and when Signavio was one of the very first tools to provide enterprises with one way to centrally manage all your models so that we have some governance and we can let people collaborate on the models. Then in the past decades, mining came along and we became data driven on top of being model driven, right? So, and that's where we had centralized process data where we can do mining. Now, in these days, with the evolution towards AI, we are seeing another big wave of disruption where from data-driven we will become knowledge-driven. That means that we need a central place to gather, curate, and govern process knowledge, right? So, and that's what we will be using process atoms for. And that knowledge layer is definitely then the core pillar that will act as a foundation for our digital twin of an organization promise, let's say. We want to make sure that Signavio can be used to mimic the entire behavior of your organization along with LeanIX, of course, right? So when it comes to systems. And then using atoms and using simulation, using root cause analysis, we can allow enterprises to actually go into all of the possible what ifs, right? So like, I want to, for example, improve my customer experience in order to cache, in lead to cache overall, right? So what are the main factors today that influence the bad customer experience that I have? And then what are the things that I should change in order to achieve a certain goal? And then what happens if I start, if I simulate that change, and what else would be impacted, right? So, and having the possibility to have a realistic digital twin that you can use to play along with all of those hypotheses will be a booster to being able to apply change effectively across also very large and complex enterprise processes and enterprise systems.
Mm. Great, thank you so much for your answer. I think it makes it definitely more clear for everyone. We don't have any other questions in the chat. We have a comment. I love BB process atoms. And okay, I would also like to
be happy with this attention on process atoms because he's really very fond of this name and he loves the concept. So we look forward for Gero Zeke's explanations as well, because it will be much more visionary as always than what I explained today.
Great. I would like to offer to the attendees, but also to anyone watching this video, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments area underneath this video. We will be looking at any questions, and Silvio, I'm sure you will be happy to answer them.
Of course, yeah, I can also follow up offline. Sure.
Great. And then I would like to thank you once again very much for your excellent presentation, Silvio. And a big thanks to all attendees for joining. And I wish everyone a great day, a great evening, depending on where you are, and hopefully see you again next week. Bye-bye.